Now, once upon a time, there was this little gal, and she lived in this house with a big fence all around it and a nice big yard. And she lived there with her daddy, and she loved her daddy. But her mama was gone. And so daddy had to take care of her, and when daddy had to go to work, he had to leave his little gal alone in that house. And so he would always tell her, don't go out of that fence around our yard. You stay inside that fence, because outside that fence there's a big meadow, and across the meadow there's a forest, and in that forest there lives a Gunny Wolf. And that Gunny Wolf will get you and eat you for dinner. So you need to promise me, little gal, you will not go out of that fence. And that little gal, she loved her daddy, and she said, oh, Daddy, I promise. I won't go outside of that fence. Well, she was a good little gal, and she would play in her house, and she would play in her big yard, and she had such a lot of area to play in, and she had such a good time. And when her daddy came home, they did things together, and she loved her daddy. Well, one day he left for work, and she went outside the yard. It was a beautiful spring day, and the flowers were starting to bloom. And her daddy did love flowers. And she went out in the yard, and there was a whole passel of white flowers. And she started picking those flowers, and she picked them and picked them and picked them and picked them until she got a big bouquet of flowers. And she looked around the yard, and there were a few little yellow flowers over there, but she thought maybe she'd see what was in the meadow outside of the gate. It wouldn't hurt just to open that gate just a little bit, would it? Well, she decided it wouldn't hurt, so she opened up that gate just a little bit, and in that meadow she could see, partway across, she could see some red flowers, and her daddy did like red flowers. And so she thought, I'll just go out that meadow. She looked around, and there was no Gunny Wolf in sight, so it would be okay, right? Is it okay to do what your daddy tells you not to do? Just because it looked safe, didn't it? Oh, they're catching on here. But she decided she would do it. So she went out to that meadow, and she started picking those red flowers. They looked so pretty with the white flowers, and they were so nice. And then she looked a little farther on. There were some pink flowers. And they would look really pretty with the other flowers. And so she went a little farther, and she picked the pink flowers. And then right on the edge of the meadow there were some yellow flowers. Oh, they were pretty small. So she just went over there. She looked around. There was no Gunny Wolf. Okay, so she picked those yellow flowers. And then she saw it inside the forest. Just a few steps inside that forest, there were some blue flowers, and they were beautiful. They reminded her of her daddy's eyes. So she had to have them in her bouquet. And so she looked around, and the birds were singing, and the butterflies were flying, and there was no Gunny Wolf out. She just knew there was no Gunny Wolf. So she went a little bit into that forest, and she began to pick those blue flowers. And then she saw some purple flowers. They were just a little farther. She got to pick the purple flowers. And by this time, she's got this big bouquet. And she started to get ready to go home when all at once she saw something hairy in front of her. And she looked up. And oh, she was looking at the big yellow eyes, the big, sharp yellow teeth of a Gunny Wolf. And he looked down at her, and while she was picking those flowers, she had been kind of singing. She liked to sing. She'd been kind of singing, complete, complete. But when she saw that Gunny Wolf, she stopped singing. She didn't feel like singing. And he looked down at her and he said, sing that sweet song one more time. Oh, she had never felt less like singing in her whole life. But she decided she'd better sing. So she looked up at that Gunny Wolf, and she thought this will be the last thing I ever do before he eats me for dinner. But she started to sing. She said, and you know what happened? Well, that Gunny Wolf, he fell right on the forest floor and commenced to snoring. Well, this was her chance, so you gotta help me now. She began to run. Oh, good job. That Gunny Wolf was right on her. She hadn't even gotten to the edge of the forest yet. And she looked up into the yellow eyes and the yellow, sharp yellow teeth of the Gunny Wolf, and she knew she was gonna be dinner. And he looked down at her and he said, sing that sweet song one more time. Gunny Wolf. And she knew it was the last thing she was ever going to see. And he looked down at her and he said, "Sing that sweet song one more time." Well, that Gunny Wolf, he fell right down on that fourth floor and commenced snoring. But this time, that little gal, she didn't start to run away yet. She looked down at him and she said, "Ka-kwee, ka-kwa, ka-kwee, ka-kwa, ka-kwee, ka-kwa, ka-kwee, ka-kwa, ka-kwee, ka-kwa." And she kept singing until she was pretty sure that he was asleep. And then she began to run. By that time, she had gone to that gate. She threw that gate closed with the Gunny Wolf on the other side. And do you think that little gal